So this is the Canada vlog. So I started off in August with quite a bit of planning and prep for the trip. Then I set off from Newcastle. Uh, my sister, very kindly gave me a lift to the airport. Unfortunately, it started off with a mishap because my flight from Newcastle was delayed to get to Dublin. That meant I missed a connecting flight to get to Toronto, so I spent the day in Dublin and stayed the night in a hostel in Dublin. But Dublin was quite a cool place. I managed to see quite a few things. Went out for my dinner, and it was actually culture night in Dublin. So I got into City Hall, which was cool to look around, and there was a great bagpipe band that were playing as well. And I managed to see some live music as well as just wander around Dublin during the night. Then the next day was just getting the bus out of Dublin to the airport and getting my flight over to Toronto. I had dinner in the CN Tower, which had great views surrounding the city. And I walked to my hostel where I just spent one night. The next day, I spent the morning just going on a run around Toronto and having a look at the university campus in the city centre. And around lunchtime, I got a train and met Aidan, who gave me a lift to his house, and I stayed with him for 2 days. I met their family, and I forgot to take a picture, but here's a picture of my Auntie Anne and her family when they went to visit. Then the next day, Aidan took me out to check out Niagara Falls. We saw some of the canal that lets the ferries get between the Great Lakes, and we went out for lunch in a really pretty town called Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is north of Niagara Falls. And Aidan took me on the scenic route around some really nice places around Niagara Falls. We saw some of the rapids on our way there, and then Niagara Falls were pretty beautiful. We were on the Canadian side, and apparently from the American side you can't really see anything, but it was really cool. And we went out onto the Maid of the Mist, which was a great way to sort of get up close and really see the size of the falls. And we also went on sort of like a 4D experience ride, which showed you the different parts of the Niagara Falls and the history of the falls. Big thank you to Aidan and Norm for hosting me for those 2 days. Then Aidan gave me a lift to the airport where I took the flight to Calgary. So from this plane I could see Toronto and then some of the Great Lakes, and then when I got towards Calgary, the plains. I was picked up from the airport by another of my mum's cousins, Seal, and her husband, Paul, and I got to stay with them for 2 days. The first day we went out to Calgary. We had a walk around some of the parks, and we also went to a science museum, which was cool. On the evening, we went out and I met their son, Jerry, and his wife, Meg. We had some wings. The next day, they very kindly gave me a lift to Banff, and we set out on sort of a road trip, looking sort of there's very flat lands around the north of Calgary, but we headed towards sort of the mountains. We stopped off at a really cool place called Crescent Falls, which had a lovely waterfall and was all by itself. We also stopped at a cool canyon viewpoint, which was close by. The scenery on the ride was great. There was loads of mountains and the lakes were really blue. So a very big thank you to Seal and Paul for hosting me and showing me around Calgary and driving me to Banff. When I got to Banff, I saw there was a basketball court and there was some free balls with it. So on the evening, I walked down sort of to the river and walked along it and got to a cool viewpoint of some of the falls. I couldn't actually see it from the end, but then when I got up to the top point, it gave me some good views of the whole of the sort of the falls. On my way back to the hostel, I just saw a deer in someone's garden. So my first full day in Banff, I decided to go out on a hike to get up Sulphur Mountain. It was a nice walk along. It's quite remote here, so I've got to managed to rent some bear spray in case any bears come along, scare them off. We'll see if that works. I managed to avoid the bears, and just before I went up the steep track, I had some mango to keep me going, and the views at the top were great. There was a lot of people around because they could get a gondola up, but it had great 360 views all around the surrounding area of Banff. This is a bit more relaxed than having a hike up. So yeah, I decided to get the gondola on the way down because I was pretty tired. My second day in Banff, I went out on a group hike. We saw some elk on the way, and we went to a place called the Hoodoos. But it just had great views. And afterwards, I decided to go on a hike up Tunnel Mountain. Just wandering through the woods. They're nice. All around Banff, it's just mountains. Tunnel Mountain had some great views at the top. Not a bad spot for a sandwich. On my third full day in Banff, I took a bus from Banff up to a place called Lake Louise. There was a lot of tourists around the bottom of Lake Louise. I managed to keep them out of that picture. But then I went up on a hike up to the Beehive and Devil's Thumb. So that's Beehive there. And there was a really nice lake up at the top, which had some great trees and surrounding areas. And then when I got to the top of the Beehive, I had a great view of Lake Louise, and the water looked even bluer from the top. After the Beehive, I went up sort of it's quite a sketchy path, if you'd call it, but there was a great view at the top of Devil's Thumb, of the surrounding area and the lake, and also the hills and the glaciers in the background, and that was definitely worth the tough hike. It's getting a bit dark, and there's no one. I haven't seen anyone on this path, so I've got my bear spray just in case. I spent my next day getting a bus to Calgary Airport and a flight from Calgary to Vancouver. In the airport, I tried my first ever poutine, which is like a Canadian dish. It's like cheesy chips with gravy. Vancouver was quite a rainy city, and I managed to make use of my rope to keep the aircon going. On my first day in Vancouver, I went on sort of a group hike that the hostel had put on, and we went out to a place called Lighthouse Park. And there were some nice trees and surrounding areas. The rocks were pretty cool, and it gave us a pretty good view of Vancouver by the sea. I then went out for dinner with the same people that I'd met on the hike, and we went out for Chinese. Next morning, did a bit of laundry and admin, and then with the same people, we went out to a place called Capilano Suspension Bridge. I was wondering whether or not I should or shouldn't go because it was a bit expensive, but the bridge was pretty cool, and the thing that sort of made it worth it was that I got to see my first ever bald eagle. There are a few of the sort of walkways around the area around the bridge which are quite cool to go around, and on the evening we went out for dinner again and saw this cool sort of steam clock in Vancouver, and afterwards I had a game of Catan with some people in the hostel. My last day in Vancouver, I was sort of just waiting around after I checked out, so I went to see a film and had some more poutine. Yeah, so that is the Canada vlog. It is currently 20 to midnight at the airport. I'm about to get a flight to China, so I hope it goes well. It's going to be quite long, and even though it's pretty much midnight here, it's like the middle of the day in China, so I'm going to try and stay up as long as I can on the plane to sort of get my body clock going. But I hope everyone enjoyed the vlog, and there should be more to come over the next few months. Next one will be China, where I'll be meeting up with my brother James, which should be nice.